Is Lawson out? Will Tsunoda race for Red Bull in Japan? The internet has exploded with rumours that Tsunoda could be racing for Red Bull in the Japanese Grand Prix instead of Liam Lawson. In this Strike Engine video, we find the source of these rumours and judge if it's a good idea and what it says about the Red Bull F1 team in general. This video is based on an article on strikeengine.com. Link is in the video description, and in that Strike Engine article there's links to all the sources that are in this video. So the rumour is Lawson is out. Where did this rumour come from? It came from a newspaper called De Telegraaf. It's a Dutch newspaper, and it's claiming Tsunoda will definitely be in the Red Bull car for Japan. Apparently there has been a meeting with a major Thai Red Bull shareholder, and that Honda was also involved. Apparently this change will be announced later this week. I think it's important to stress that all this is unconfirmed by the people that matter, i.e. Red Bull, Lawson and Tsunoda, so it may yet turn out to be BS. And I don't know if the Telegraph is a reliable newspaper. It's the first time I hear of them. So assuming it's true, does it make sense to swap drivers now? And what does that say about the Red Bull organisation as a whole at this moment in time? So this is coming from a point of view of myself, and I'm a huge Tsunoda fan. And I wanted Yuki to have the Perez seat when it was announced that Perez was leaving. With that in mind, I think it would be a mistake to swap the drivers after two races, and for many reasons. First of all, the races that we've had so far, they haven't been great for a rookie, someone with limited time in the car, and someone who had started with a car which is apparently hard to drive. So the first race was wet, not the greatest environment for your first race. I think it was also his first time racing at the track, Lawson. Maybe his race pace was off, but at the end of the day, he finished ahead of Alonso and Sainz. So tricky car, tricky conditions. It wasn't a bad pair of drivers for him to beat. Perhaps comparing to Antonelli, which I suppose a lot of people will be doing, I don't think that's kind of fair either, because in the 2024 season, Antonelli was getting the chance to drive the car on the Fridays. In summary, for his first time out at Melbourne at least, I think we can just put it down to shit happens. Looking at the second race, this was a sprint race weekend, so not a lot of time to adjust the setup. Again, not ideal. In qualifying, he was 7/10 off Verstappen. Not great, but it was a big step forward over at Melbourne. Race result was nothing to write home about, but given the unlimited amount of time he had to do setup, and given his gap to Verstappen in qualifying, I don't think it was reasonable to expect him to make a big improvement in position through the race. My summary of China would be that it was a big improvement over Melbourne. He was about 4/10 closer to Verstappen in qualifying than he was in Melbourne. So does it make sense to swap the drivers for the Japanese Grand Prix, the third round of the season? As I said, I'm a Tsunoda fan, and I would say 100% no, it doesn't make sense. In my opinion, maybe not all of the problems, but the majority of the problems stem from seat time. Yes, Lawson did 191 laps in testing, and his times were way off Verstappen. But we don't know if they were representative or if he was doing race runs. In short, we don't know what he was doing in testing. But whatever the case may be, I think he needs to stay in the car. I think he needs more time. Lawson got dropped into the junior team in the 2024 season, halfway through the year. Tsunoda did beat him, but Tsunoda had more experience in the car. And I think it's fair to say that no one was saying Lawson was getting smashed by Tsunoda. So even though he, halfway through the season, maybe didn't have that much seat time, he was quite close to Tsunoda. In short, Lawson is not a random person off the street. He is a decent driver. To say if he's rubbish, which some people may be saying that at the moment, I think it's clearly wrong. To say he needs to get dropped after two difficult races, i.e. the rain and the one other weekend being the sprint race weekend, it doesn't make any sense to me, at least on the surface. Perhaps Tsunoda can come in and be a 10th quicker than Lawson, perhaps even 2/10 quicker over a lap, but this is still not going to be enough. The problems at Red Bull are bigger. So the test. Japan will be the test for Lawson if he's there. He has plenty of laps under his belt at Suzuka, and it's a normal race weekend with 3 practice sessions. He has to be within 0.3 of a second of Verstappen. If not, I think there's a case then for saying that Lawson leaving the team would be more justified. And I said, whatever the case may be, I think he has to race at Suzuka. This is going to be a fair test, I think, of him. To make the change before that opportunity happens, I think it's at best hasty, and at worst it just appears chaotic. The state of Red Bull. For all the reasons I've listed above, I think the big question is why Lawson was even given the chance for the seat in the first place. If they are considering swapping Lawson out after 2 races, you have to ask yourself on what basis they gave him the drive in the first place. You have to assume they gave it to him because they believe he has a proven track record of being fast, that he showed glimmers of brilliance, and that put him ahead of a proven point scorer in Tsunoda. Something must have happened, or they believe that they saw something that put him ahead of Tsunoda. So again, assuming they're even contemplating a swap at this point, it begs the question, what has changed in the 2 races? You'd think they'd have a decent amount of analysis has happened for them to choose Lawson over Tsunoda to start with. What has changed in the first 2 races of this season for them to completely throw out that analysis? Is the result of 2 suboptimal races enough to burn their driver analysis? Are Red Bull just taking punts on which drivers to choose? Because if they're thinking of changing a driver after 2 races, it sort of looks that way, at least to me. Or perhaps it's something else. Perhaps Red Bull driver selection does have a method, something grounded in data, and not something based solely on the eye test. You'd think that they're doing a bit more analysis than that, analysing driving styles, is it suitable to the car, etc, etc. So could the explanation be for this whole thing to have kicked off after only 2 races? Could it be that Red Bull in Thailand and Honda pushed hard for Tsunoda to get the seat this year, but were overruled by Horner, Marco or someone else? And is this why we appear to be seeing such a massive reversal in opinion in such a short time? Were Honda and Red Bull in Thailand, extremely unhappy with the decision of Lawson and have been waiting for an excuse to get the decision reversed in favour of their preferred driver? Is this why all of a sudden it's blown up so much? And if Horner and Marco are forced to use Yuki against their preference, i.e. Lawson, what sort of support will Tsunoda get at Red Bull? Will they look after him? Who exactly is pushing for this swap? Is it Horner and Marco, or is it Honda and Red Bull in Thailand? Conflict. Are we simply witnessing a political conflict inside Red Bull here? Are we looking at Red Bull Thailand and Honda against Horner and Marco? I don't think I'm stretching the point here to say I think these rumours are making Red Bull look extremely foolish. If we get an announcement later this week, as the Telegraph is predicting, then I think politics is the only logical explanation for this whole debacle. The Dutch connection. Why are Dutch newspapers so far ahead of everyone on this story? I think everything is coming from Holland on this story. Is it in Verstappen's interest? Is it in Verstappen's interest to have a more competitive driver as a partner? For sure, someone to threaten to take points off McLaren is a definite plus for Verstappen's championship hopes. So this could be one explanation why Holland is the source of this rumour, or why Holland is so far ahead of everyone else. And if this is the case, then would it be hard to believe that Verstappen didn't want Lawson as a teammate to start with? So what does this leave us with? If Verstappen did not want Lawson as a teammate to start with, and if Red Bull in Thailand and Honda also did not want Lawson in the senior team, then who did? Well, I think this only leaves Horner and Marco. So coming on to Tsunoda, as good as Tsunoda is, I don't know how much seat time he has had in the Red Bull. For sure not as much as Lawson, in which case he could be on a hiding to nothing taking this Red Bull seat. Is it in Tsunoda's interest to take the seat at this point, with minimal seat time and the added pressure of being in front of his home fans? I think many will argue he has a better chance of scoring points in the junior team. Looking at Lawson's results so far, I think some people are saying that maybe the junior team might have a better car than the senior team. I said above, I don't think Tsunoda is a huge step forward from Lawson, and considering the lack of seat time that Tsunoda's had versus Lawson, you could easily imagine him not even doing as well as Lawson. But it all comes down to if he gets on with the car or not. So in this situation, I don't see any winners. It's hard to see any winners from these rumours or from the potential driver swap. If the swap happens, Red Bull look foolish for not giving Lawson a proper chance. Red Bull also look foolish for putting Lawson in the car in the first place if they change their minds after 2 races. And if nothing happens, where did the rumours come from? There must be someone credible inside Red Bull that is putting these rumours out there. Either way, Red Bull look a bit foolish, I think, at the moment. Lawson's obviously not a winner if he gets replaced, and Tsunoda's reputation could also take a hit if he goes into a difficult car with zero preparation. He might be lucky and find his style is close to Verstappen, but it's a might. And there's a video here that covers Tsunoda's driving style, and it does touch on something in there that actually his driving style might be quite suited to Verstappen, so that's worth a quick watch. And then we come on to Yuki's future. There was a video here which goes in, this was made a month ago before all this kicked off, going into Yuki's situation for this season and going forward. He is between a rock and a hard place. Tsunoda might be out of the job next year anyway. If he does manage to get close to Verstappen, his future's bright, obviously, with or without Red Bull. He's going to be in demand if he can get anywhere near Verstappen, I think. And if, as the video suggests, this one, Red Bull could sabotage his chance at the senior team because they simply don't want him there, people could be half expecting that anyway, so he could come out unscathed even if he's not close to Verstappen's times. From the viewpoint of this season, it might be better for Yuki to stay put. The car looks decent. He might get more points at the junior team. But looking at the long term, if he has the opportunity to go up against the best, i.e. Verstappen, I think he has to take it. Assuming he's guaranteed the seat for the rest of the season, it's pointless him going in there for 2 races and then he gets turfed out as well. And if that's going to happen, I'm not sure who's going to want to race for Red Bull, but that's besides the point. The upside for Tsunoda is potentially massive, and assuming he gets the seat for the whole season, the downside might not be that bad either. So all in all, it's a suboptimal situation for everybody involved. If it all turns out to be a nonsense story and nothing changes, that might be the best outcome for everybody. But having said that, Yuki's future in F1 looks uncertain, despite him beating everybody that's been put in front of him, i.e. his teammates. So a big shake-up could be just what his career needs. That's the video, guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want more stories like this, subscribe to the channel, look after yourselves, and I'll see you again in the next video.